panel number 4, Sustainable Education and Crewing. I want to introduce our panelists. The first one is Zaola Sanchez Varela, University of Split, Professor Assistant, Faculty of Maritime Studies. Please.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to show you today a presentation. It will be shortly introducing my institution, the Faculty of Maritime Studies in Split. And later on, I will be showing you a couple of projects where we are cooperating and working, and so you know what we are doing in the academia. So our Faculty of Maritime Studies in Split, Croatia was founded in 1959. And so far, over 7,000 students have graduated from the faculty until today. And currently, they are studying 1,300 students, which are divided into these different degrees that we are offering. The undergraduate degrees are 5. We are having nautical studies, where they will be coming later, the officers, marine engineering, marine electrical engineering and information technologies for electronical officers, maritime management for the people working in the offices, and finally the marine yacht and marina management technologies. So the first 3, you see there is a star over there, they are in compliance with the STCW convention. They are 3-year programs. And after that, they could be getting into the graduate programs, the master degree, which is extra 2 years. And we are having 4 ones corresponding to nautical studies, marine engineering, marine electrical engineering and information technologies, and maritime management. Here I'm showing you some pictures of the equipment we are having over here. So apart from having 2 navigational bridges, we also have the engine simulator, which can be connected with the bridge to make a conjunction of synchronized exercises. We are having some electrical engines and simulators, communication simulators. Also, we have the drones for different investigation research programs. And now talking about the research and the project. So the first project that I'm going to show you today is called Mare Law. It's the upgrading and harmonization of maritime law STCW-based curriculum for maritime students. So we were preparing some guidelines. I will show you. It's an Erasmus Plus project where we were showing the difficulties we are having for harmonizing the materials for the maritime law education according to STCW programs. And apart from being interconnecting with other faculties, we were also stimulating innovative learning, teaching practices, and in the end, showing the best possible program for maritime law in our faculties. This is the target groups of the project. I'm going to go a bit faster in the places where it's maybe not so interesting. So we are having the higher education institutions in the maritime field. Maritime students are benefiting from this project. And of course, the maritime law teachers and maritime higher education institutions. So the project partners are Latvia, Spain, and Croatia. So there are 3 different faculties for maritime studies in these countries. And one of the first steps we took was make a questionnaire, 21 questions, for getting information about the participants, about their employment, about education and professional development, and about courses in the field of maritime law that they teach. So it was delivered, this questionnaire, among the maritime law professors. And I'm going to show you slowly what we got. So we got 34 answers. The position on the faculty that they are having is 3 of them were research assistants, 6 lecturers, senior lecturer, 1 assistant professor, associate professors, full professor with tenure, and some other which were external teachers. So as you see, we had a lot of Croatian participants in this questionnaire, also from Spain, from Latvia, and we got also a very small percentage from Montenegro. The work experience as a teacher in the institution where they are currently being employed is ranging from 1 to 37 years, average 16, and 20 respondents, they don't have any work experience as a teacher at other institutions, so let's say all their career was happening at the same institution. And 18 teachers have also work experience in the maritime economy, ranging from 1 to 32 years. So 26 respondents completed university law education, and the rest completed university maritime transport education. 28 were also having a postgraduate education in law, while 3 were completing the postgraduate education in maritime transport. And 15 were participating in some kind of extra training in the field of maritime law. And here you can see what they are their main scientific research areas where they are working currently. So transport law, law of the sea, maritime administration and law, maritime property law, and maritime transport. The information about the courses in the field of the maritime law. So if the courses being taught were conducted in accordance with STCW convention, and that's IMO model course 701 and 702. If you are not familiar, I will tell you. So 701 is for masters and chief officers, and 702 is for chief engineers. And 58, let's say 59% was in accordance with STCW, while 40% were not. And okay, you also about the scientific position of the teachers who are working. The profile is a person with a scientific position in the institution where they are teaching. They are full-time employees, 16 years of work experience, 3 years of work experience as a teacher at any other institution. They also have experience in maritime economy, in legal affairs outside maritime economy, and overall work experience would be an average 24 years. They have completed the law education, and then postgraduate again in law education and 4 months of training in the field of maritime law. So this is the basic profile of our professors. So what we wanted to do in this project is the unification of the teaching literature on maritime law at the different maritime universities, so the students with no previous legal educations could be accessing to this literature, updating this literature, getting to know the latest relevant literature, and incorporate real-world examples from practice as much as possible, involve guest lecturers in the teaching process, and of course, budget financial resources for continuing education of teachers through the participation in workshops and other courses. So how to teach maritime students about law? It's from the lawyer's standpoint or from technical standpoint. Do teachers of maritime law need a lawyer's diploma or navigational experience on ship, or both? So that's the importance of the practical examples, because our students at the end of the career, they are going to be deck officers or engine officers. And so we decided that from this point of view, the material should be written. And that's actually, we are finishing with the materials right now. And we are going to present them at the EMSA in a couple of months. And Yeah, we had a workshop, improvement of teachers' digital and pedagogical competences. And we also had some education at IMLI. It was really refreshing to see how we could be even improving the knowledge that we had. And at the end, yeah, what we are doing is harmonizing all these teaching materials. We are going to put them available online, and also a set of exam questions with self-assessment forms, so the students can benefit from the outcomes of this project. So these are the recommendations, the conclusions of this project, which is about to be finished very soon. So how we were connecting with different maritime law teachers, and how we were working together on the updating of the curricula. We were agreeing on the hours that should be taught, taking into account the IMO model course, but knowing that IMO model courses are just recommendations. And from the experience we had, we could be offering an update of these lectures. Another project that we are involved is called the Micro Qualifications in Seafarers Education and Training, or shortly MicroMed. It just started some months ago, and its partner institutions are the University of Sadar, Split, that's where I am, in Catalonia, Mediterranean Maritime Research and Training Center in Malta, the Universitat Morskiej in Gdynia, that's Poland, and also from the industry, Tankerska Plovidba, which is a shipping company from Croatia. And what we want to do is to be learning about the small qualifications, the micro qualifications that the officers on board tankers, especially gas tankers and passenger vessels, need to have, apart from the regular certificates according to STCW Part A. So what we were doing was having in the beginning a different a questionnaire that we were sending to different seafarers to be getting some information, backup information on which training are they undertaking, which training are they needing for working in their positions. The results, I don't have them right now. We are still processing them. And once we process them, we will be working on how to implement them in the education at the higher education institutions. Okay, so this is the team of the different, I don't know if you know someone from here, maybe yes. Say again? Ah, okay. Okay, so this is the small project activities that we have. So the project management, the short learning programs in maritime industry, that's the work package where we are now working. According to the results we have, we will be working on the policy and curricula at higher maritime education institutions. Work package number 4 will be the role of the training centers in micro-credential recognition. And at the end, we will make some quality assurance to make sure that all these steps that we are taking and all these curricula that we are going to develop is according to the industry. Okay, so here you have a bit more disseminated all these tasks from the work package number 2. Identification of the specific needs of the seafarers on board LNG carriers, crude oil tankers, and cruise ships. We are collecting the data on the number of non-STCW short learning programs and time needed to carry them in these different ships. Analysis of the contents and outcomes for seafarers. In the next package, we are going to analyze the current micro-credential status at maritime higher institutions, see the observations related to the micro-credentials, review the current curriculum practices for this micro-credentials recognition, at maritime higher education institutions. So the final goal is that our students can be already prepared for having this micro-credential certification once they are finishing with their education at the faculty. The work package number 4 will be also implementing all this education in our programs. And finally, the work package number 5 is the quality assurance. As I told you, we had to evaluate that this curricula that is developed is not done. Let's say I had one boss one time that was saying it's not a Mickey Mouse certificate, but there is someone behind who is assuring that this certificate is accordance to guidelines from the industry. And that is all. I don't know if I'm okay with the timing. Yes? Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much for your presentation. So is any questions to the Mrs. Varela, please? If somebody want to ask something.
Oh my God. Yeah, the lady over there.
Oh, welcome. Just
Be loud.
It's not just a question. I just wanted to give a feedback because I was a student there, and yesterday, as a coincidence, I met the dean of the University of Split, and I was an Erasmus student there. Just want to motivate the young people to, if they have that opportunity, to go to Split, University of Split, because the base there, the environment, and the whole university camp is amazing. And you can see a different model of education. There, actually, I was enthusiastic to be involved in the autonomous shipping classes, and you can really see a different perspective. And I just want to welcome you if you would like to motivate the students to go there. And this is from my side. Thank you.
Okay, I thank you very much for your comment. It was very, very nice. I'm afraid, though, that all these younger students are gone. No problem. But anyway, there are also
Teachers are
Erasmus
here.
opportunities for the industry people who want to come to the faculty. We can get an Erasmus agreement so you can come and Erasmus can cover your expenses.
So one more question. Yes, please.
Thank you. I know there is a legal center or university in Malta, and also in World Maritime University. There is specialty. What are the links with these two institutions? Because I see here partners, they are from Europe.
Yeah, okay. The Erasmus Plus, which is the project, the one who puts the money. For getting a project from Erasmus Plus, you had to belong to the Erasmus Plus program. So probably it was not in this occasion, but we are planning to get to the Mare Law Part 2. And I'm liking that you were telling me that, because I will definitely contact them and see if they are interested in participating in this project, the second project of the Mare Law. Thank you.
So, other questions? So, thank you very much, Mrs. Varela. So, before we continue, I want to present another participants on the panel number 4. So, please welcome Ian Thierry, Hugh Dickinson, partner. The topic is error of navigation or unseaworthiness on the ground of the crew performance trends in the use of EGDIS from an English wall perspective, please.
A very quick introduction to myself, actually, just to hopefully give some context. I'm an accidental lawyer. I never set out to be a lawyer. I did nautical studies at the University of Plymouth in the 80s, specialising in naval architecture. I spent a couple of years training to be a navigator in the Royal Air Force, decided that was hazardous to my health, and much to my mother's delight, resigned and accidentally found myself working for one of the then leading law firms in London. So for the last 32 years now, I've been specialising. My practice is all marine casualty law, all the litigation that comes from whether it's collisions, groundings, fires, you name it. So this is what I've been doing effectively for the last 32 years. You have an accident, we fly to the ship, we interview the crew, we collect the evidence, the statements, the VDR. So this is very much my day job, the material that we're going to talk about. A quick word on the title. Is it error of navigation or is it unseaworthiness? And I think might have been Ron yesterday, somebody talked about the transfer of risk. The question as to whether an incident arises from what might be classed as error of navigation or unseaworthiness is very relevant to where the consequences of an incident fall. So take any contract you like, a contract for marine insurance, a charter party, a bill of lading. Generally speaking, error of navigation is fine, it's covered, or there's an exclusion for liability for it under the charter party or the bill of lading. On the other hand, unseaworthiness is a very different kettle of fish. So the distinction between error of navigation and unseaworthiness, why is that relevant to us? It's relevant to who is going to pay the bill when things go wrong. That's why we're looking at it. Okay, with that said, let's get into the details. I've got 10 slides. 7 of which, only 3 of which, I think maybe 4, are really in the legal stuff. The rest of it, the introduction, is about the trends, the navigational trends. So I'm going to leap around a little bit in this slide. Back in September 2021, the Marine Accident Investigation Bureau in England, the MAIB, in conjunction with their colleagues in Denmark, produced a report called ECDIS, Application and Usability. The genesis of that report was over a 10-year period, the MAIB had investigated numerous casualties where the use of ECDIS was found to be, at least in part, causative of the casualty. Common themes, I've put up there common themes that they noted as part of their own investigations, voyages not being planned adequately in terms of checking visually or using the auto route scan function to check for dangers along the planned track, passengers as a consequence being planned across unnavigable waters, audible alarms being disabled. So these were some of the trends observed over a number of years by the MAIB. Just to cross that over into where there's the legal context, around the same time, back in 2011, a ship called the CMA CGM Libra ran aground exiting the port of Xiamen in China. Those of you in this room who are in the kind of legal and claims arena will recognise that case. The litigation ran for 10 years and went all the way through the Court of First Instance, the Court of Appeal, and to the Supreme Court in England. Effectively, what that case is all about was the cargo interests were refusing to pay their contribution to general average arising from the grounding because they said that the vessel was unseaworthy because the passage plan was itself, as a document, was defective and that led to the grounding. That case ran through all the way over 10 years, divided opinion in legal circles in England, but it was also a case where they ran at the same time as that argument, they also alleged that the master was incompetent and that the vessel, as a consequence, was unseaworthy. That particular argument was rejected. The vessel was unseaworthy because of the passage plan alone, but nevertheless, it's relevant to that case. What it's done is it's emboldened cargo interests to argue about general average. Every time there's a grounding, they want to see the passage plan. They want to look at how the voyage was planned, how it was executed. And so that's the legal context, if you like, for why the MAIB report from September 2021 was so interesting to us. I'm not going to go through all these stats, just to give you an idea of the scope of the survey that the MAIB did. And I think just a quick, even if you just run your eye quickly over those stats, I think one would have to conclude that it was a pretty decent poll, if you like, a decent sample size in terms of the number of ships, the number of nationalities, the number of ECDIS types, and so on. So what did they find? As the first bullet point there says, they found benefits in terms of reducing the navigator's workload, but a number of what they described as challenges. Perhaps the main one is that first one there, the number of type of alerts generated during the auto route scan process. So for the non-mariners here, there may not be many. You plot your planned route, you put a cross-track corridor either side of your chosen width, and then the ECDIS set will automatically scan that route, looking for navigational dangers within that corridor. And effectively, what happens is if you make the corridor too wide, it puts up so many alerts that it would take you days to go through them. If you make it too narrow, then there might be dangers just on the other side of that line, which you miss, but might nevertheless be a hazard. So other things, the distraction of alerts and alarms has led to a practice in certain ships of the alarms being ignored or disabled or muted, which has obvious dangers. The bottom one there, the interface and menu complexities of some ECDIS sets meant that effectively people weren't using all of them or really understood most of them. It's a bit like my iPhone. You know, as I think again was said yesterday, I use about 5% of the capacity of my iPhone. One could say the same thing, I suspect, about the use of ECDIS in certain quarters. So their findings on training and competency, they found a broad range of competence. The middle bullet point there probably sums it up, I think, which is they found to be very confident in the basic functions, route plotting, but have less understanding once you started to go into the drop-down boxes to understand all of the higher level functionality of an ECDIS set. And then just further on in terms of their findings, 2 points really here. I've just quoted from thinking you'll get the slides as well, so you can read this in slow time. The development of best practice was found to be in its early stages. The variety of navigational practices suggests that ECDIS is still in its implementation phase and making a standardized training regime difficult to define. I'll come back to that in the conclusion. For me, what's really interesting is the second one there. In essence, what they're saying is that the IMO model course on and type-specific familiarization are sufficient for users. It's questionable, they said, whether they were making it proficient at the generic stage and also at the type-specific stages. So that, again, we'll come back to that in terms of what the significance of that in a second. So I'm not going to go through, so into the law section now a little bit. 6 cases up there. The first 4 from the Clan Gordon down to the Eurasian Dream are really the cases that take you through, if you're into English law, that they'll take you through the history of the evolution of the principle that a ship can be unseaworthy as a matter of law by virtue of the level of performance of the officers or the crew, in just the same way that it can be unseaworthy by virtue of the condition of the hull and the engine and the equipment as a matter of practice. The bottom 2 cases, the Taripo and the CMA-CGM Libra, the Libra we've already talked about, those are 2 cases where the arguments that I'm talking about, i.e. unseaworthiness by virtue of the performance, in these cases of the deck officers or the master, were run. I should say in both cases, that argument failed. But nevertheless, and I think the overall message out of this is we're going to see more of this, I think, as ECDIS is very much has been with us for a number of years now. But the Libra case has, what we're going to see more of that coming. So let's look at some of these cases in a little more detail, just to put all of this in context. So I'm going to go through them really chronologically. The Standard Oil and Clan Line steamers, 100-year-old case, but still relevant. This was a case where the ship had a particularly odd ballasting arrangement, which the master was not aware of, and it couldn't be gleaned from the stability documents on board the ship. Ship came out of New York, went into a hard port turn, and the ship rolled over. Really unfortunate for the master, because the ship was found to be unseaworthy because he had what was described as a disabling lack of knowledge. Not his fault technically. He himself had done nothing wrong, but nevertheless, the arrangement with the ship owner meant that he just did not have the knowledge to operate that ship safely, and she was deemed legally unseaworthy. I've highlighted the word disabling there, and I'll come on to that in the next case, because that's when you're looking at, what is the needle in terms of behaviour, the standard, the thing that the behaviour that has caused the grounding. There's kind of a needle, if you like, from naught to, a little bit of a bad day at the office to, right at the top. Somewhere in that top, there's the red zone where you're going to be deemed incompetent or lacking in sufficient competence and therefore making the ship unseaworthy. The word disabling is used throughout the cases, and that's, I think tells a story as to how bad it's got to be no one's obviously suggesting that every time a mistake is made that someone's incompetent. That's not the point, and that's not the message. It's got to be super bad. Speaking of which, that takes us to the next case, the Macedonia, 1962. This was a case involving a ship that was disabled in the middle of the North Atlantic because the engineers had managed to allow fresh water to infiltrate the fuel lines. They didn't know how. They never found out how. And this was what they were saying in this case, was that a disabling lack of will, i.e. the intention, the willingness to do your job, is just the same as a disabling lack of skill. The end result is the same, and so there's no real difference. In terms of when someone says to us as investigators, how do you figure this out? How do you know what is just an unfortunate lapse in concentration, or however we want to describe it, and how do you distinguish that from incompetence? This case gives you a pretty good steer. In the judgment, the judge said there were many things of importance which were wholly unexplained or wholly unsatisfactorily explained. Just so this case on the evidence was extraordinary. It was absolute carnage. The chief engineer in particular had no idea how any of this had happened, really didn't have a clue. It was unfortunate for the owners and for their insurers that the owners sent a superintendent to the ship. He did his own investigation. He sent a message to the owners saying all the engineers are incompetent, they should all be sacked. Of course, that report to the owners had to be disclosed in the evidence. And so, it was a bit of an own goal by the engineer. But even their own engineers concluded that they should have been sacked. And we'll come on to that in a second in terms of the test for unseaworthiness in the next slide. The Star Sea, this case went all the way to the House of Lords, but it was this comment here from the Court of Appeal, which is particularly interesting and which you have to pay attention to in these type of cases. This is a quote: "Incompetence is a question of fact. An officer may be incompetent even if he or she has no history of the behaviour in question, but equally, a history of more than one mistake does not necessarily point to incompetence." Sounds like a contradiction within the same sentence, but it can be explained as follows. In a sense, just because you may have the misfortune to make 2 or 3 mistakes, if each one of those mistakes is just, it's irritating, but it's not disabling lack of skill, it's not demonstrative of a disabling lack of skill, that's not going to make you incompetent. However, if you do one particular mistake that is so bad, I'm going to jump ahead actually to the next slide. I'm going to speak about the next slide. The test for seaworthiness is a matter of law. Is this, and it doesn't matter whether this is the ship or the crew. If a reasonably competent ship owner would require the defect, whether that's main engine or a poor navigator, to be fixed before the ship goes to sea again, then that is something which would make the ship unseaworthy. So if in a navigational context, if you had an officer who you knew his navigational skills were so poor that you would not want him taking a watch, and you allowed him to go to sea and take a watch, then that makes the ship unseaworthy. In just the same way that if you knew that you had a defect with your main engine, which meant that it was likely to lose power at some point in the coming days, but you allowed the ship to go to sea, that's the same. So it's the same test whether you're talking about the crew or the vessel itself. So one thing that comes through from all these cases, especially the Macedonia and Star Sea, in all these cases, all of the crew members in question had valid certificates of competency, and yet found to be lacking in competence, rendering the ship unseaworthy. So one thing that I've heard many times over the years with when I'm doing investigations, people saying to me, well, what do you mean they're not sufficiently competent? They've got a COC. That's enough. It's not, as a matter of law, and as the case law shows, that's not just simply having a COC does not necessarily, if you then go on and have an accident and it gets to the required standard, it doesn't mean to say that once you've got a COC, you are forever immune to a finding of lacking in competence and making the ship unseaworthy. The final case to look at is the Eurasian Dream, and that's the Eurasian Dream really is, if you like, if you want to go to one case to see what English law currently says about unseaworthiness in a crew performance context, this is it. And the judgment includes this little menu here of A to E in terms of the characteristics that might lead to incompetence. But before we do that, the Eurasian Dream, the top bullet point there I've already covered. That's the standard and established English legal test for does something make the ship unseaworthy. The second bullet point there is also worth mentioning. Seaworthiness must be judged by the standards and the practices of the industry at the relevant time, so long as those standards and practices are reasonable. And just hold that thought because that's coming up. I'm going to come back to that in the conclusion. A couple of quick words then on the menu, if you like, from the Eurasian Dream on characteristics. An inherent lack of ability is a little bit woolly to my mind. A lack of adequate training or instruction, that's the kind of Clan Gordon type case. A lack of knowledge of a particular ship type. Those are pretty obvious. It's easy to see, to establish whether someone has had adequate training or instruction, or whether they're aware, somebody turning up to use an ECDIS where they haven't done their type-specific training would be an obvious one. A disinclination to perform the job properly. That is a really interesting one. And just think back to what I was saying about, the muting, the repeated muting of alarms, or just not using the auto route scan because it just takes you too long. Those are the sort of things that might be described here. So you've got an officer who is, fully certificated. Actually, if you put him in front of an ECDIS and ask him loads of questions, he might be able to tell you exactly how it works. But the history showed that he was actually not doing that when he was at sea. You can see how that would be categorized as a disinclination to perform the job properly. Physical or mental disability or incapacity. I love this one. There was a case a few years ago of a ship that was going into the port of Goole in the northeast of England, and the captain, he basically rammed the lock gates at speed. And when he was arrested, he was reeking of alcohol, and he asked the harbour master whether he could have another go. The answer was very firmly, no, you're going straight to the police station, old chap. So yeah, it happens. But okay, I've had the 1 minute warning, which is actually pretty good timing because I think we are on the last slide. So as I say, we've seen that the CMA CGM Libra case has emboldened cargo to challenge their having to pay GA and salvage. I think we're going to see more of that for sure. I think the MAIB's points that best practices are hard to define and standardised training regimes are difficult to define as a double-edged sword, really. On the one hand, what you can say is, well, look, actually, what is the standard of the day? No one really knows. You can point to the IMO model courses and so on and so on. So you've got some training issues there. I think, if in a way, takeaways from all this probably are two things that there is a real it really rests around due diligence in terms of the exercise of due diligence. In a lot of cases, certainly in cargo claims, is a defence. So the owner's obligation is to exercise due diligence to make the ship seaworthy. How do you do that in a navigational sense? First of all, the certificates, obviously. Then it comes down to the supervision of the master and the chief mate to make sure that all those officers are putting into practice everything they learned when they were doing their courses. That is crucial. And also superintendents and at-sea audits, which have been becoming much more in vogue over the last sort of 5 to 10 years. So those would be the takeaways. Don't want to leave you with a form of doom and gloom. This, I suppose, 20 minutes is really about being aware that these litigation risks are out there. There are certainly ways to protect oneself against them. But there you go. Questions? That's a rapid run through the law, but happy to take questions, obviously.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So any questions, please? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Impressive presentation.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. A lot of questions, but I will define only two. Please explain about Breyer case, mainly dark details.
The Breyer.
Breyer, yes.
Yeah.
Breyer was not reliable vessel. She was under standards. This is only direction. And second question, safety is an integral issue. But if we check underwriters' reports for total lost vessels, we can see that the predominant cases, master is guilty. Your comment, please, because more participants in the transport tasks, they are ashore. Only master is at sea. These two questions. But later, I can.
I've got a flight at 4:30, so there's an ultimate cap to the questions. The Breyer is for those of you who don't remember, the Breyer ran aground off the Shetland Islands in 1994. Thank you, and it was right at the beginning of my career. I wasn't involved. My firm was involved in that case. I wasn't personally, but she had an engine breakdown, as I recall. Can't remember what the outcome of that case was in the legal context. Certainly from the point of seaworthiness. But I suppose so. In that sense, it's difficult to answer that question. I suppose the point is this: is that seaworthiness effectively is something that you've got to exercise the due diligence at the commencement, before and at the commencement of the voyage. So the big question in all of these cases is that it's at that point in time. If something then happens after that, that's a different matter. But the big question is always going to be, what was the owner aware of, or should have been aware of, before and at the start of the voyage? In a way, and excuse me for kind of hijacking your question, but a similar point was raised in relation to the Sea Empress, which was not many years after that, 1996, which was more along what we've been looking at here. If you remember, the Sea Empress arrived off Milford Haven in the middle of the night. They put a pilot on board, and I think they were in a little bit of a hurry to get into the port. They joined the channel from. They didn't come straight up. They joined it and then had to do a bit of a turn. Came in too fast, overshot, went outside the channel, clipped a rock, and opened up at least one of the cargo tanks like a tin opener. And that was a huge issue for the Milford Haven Port Authority and the pilotage and the way that worked. The Breyer, I can't remember, to be truthful with you. So, A, it's a long time ago, and B, I wasn't involved. Your other question around, the master, I think one has to be a little bit careful about using the word guilty, putting aside the criminal aspect of it, but at fault. Yes, I suppose ultimately the master has total command, and therefore ultimately everything, the buck always stops with him. The big question in an insurance context is whether that is something, we're going into a whole new lecture now about unseaworthiness in the context of English marine insurance law, but the knowledge has to then come ashore and go all the way up. If let's say his performance is routinely very poor, then the knowledge of that performance has to be attributed to someone at a sufficiently high level within the organisation in order to void the insurance policy. So yes, the master, in most cases, it's very rare in English law to getting a finding of unseaworthiness that meets the test of privity, i.e., the knowledge of the managers, is very, very difficult to prove. It's always incredibly difficult to pin that knowledge on the owners of the vessel. The Star Sea was an interesting case because it was a relatively small management structure, and they were in fact able to attribute the knowledge. That was a case around firefighting and the master's knowledge of the firefighting system, which was almost non-existent, and that was known. They knew they could pin that to the management company. I hope I've gone some way to answering that question. If not, you can catch me outside. Okay. Yeah.
It is maybe not the place for a deep discussion. I only want to touch this international audience and to draw attention. Mariners, masters, they are important. And it is not so easy to show one, because underwriters, they are happy if they can catch one.
Yeah, a couple
This is the truth.
yeah, no, a couple
This
of
is the truth.
and I don't disagree with any of that. A couple of observations on that. Really, over 30 years, I've been involved in a handful of cases where underwriters have sought to what we would call pull cover, to not cover a ship. They don't do it very. Certainly, I speak for the London market. The London market doesn't look to withdraw cover for cases very often. And you can think of some if you like, highlighted cases. The Icarian Reefer was one. That goes back 30 years, which was a case I was involved with as a junior lawyer. That was an extraordinary case. And that was a case where the underwriters did prevail. They did win. It was an extraordinary case but that was a slightly different case because the ship ran aground off North Africa and then it caught fire. And there was just a sequence of events. What the underwriters were able to do is they look, we don't have a video of somebody, lighting a match, but what we do have is just a sequence of events which can only be explained by somebody within the owner's office doing, orchestrating that deliberately. There are very, very few cases. Underwriters really aren't going to rush to find it. And I suppose the other comment in relation to your question is that the lesson or the takeaways from this talk is not to try and beat people with a stick. And the point is that what we have seen from the CMA CGM Libra case in particular is that cargo insurers in particular have got a whole new appetite for trying to avoid making their contribution to salvage and general average. And what we have seen, it's a trend over my career, 30 years. We've seen the workloads on captains increase. ISM, great thing in particular, but you hear always stories of captains being overloaded by forms, checklists. The workload on captains outside of the navigational context is colossal. So that's certainly an issue. Look at any typical passage plan. If you look at the hard copy of a passage plan these days, it's about a centimetre thick. By the time you've added in all the references to all the things you've looked at to make the plan, it's a huge document compared to what it was 30 years ago. Very often there will be mathematical mistakes in that, but it's a massive document these days. So the workload on seafarers is huge. And the final comment really is that what the English law cases show is that the level of you've really got to, at some point you're going to get, like as they say, you might have one or two bad apples in the barrel. The Macedonia case was a good example of this. This was a chief engineer who had been recruited. They hadn't looked at his history, they hadn't looked at his training records, they didn't look at anything. They said, "Yeah, you're the man for us. Let's go." And when his own company superintendent went on board, he just wasn't able to explain how this has happened. So give another example. I did a case some years ago of a ship that was was approaching Bristol in the English Channel, and the deck officer was looking for a particular cardinal light, and he was looking for the flashing sequence of that light. What he was looking for was 6 flashes, and he saw what he thought was 6 flashes. Unfortunately, because the weather was very bad, it was a floating buoy, was going up and down in the waves, and because it was dipping into the troughs of the waves, the last 3 flashes of this particular buoy were missed. So he saw what he thought was a 6 flash pattern, and what he was actually looking at was a 9 flash, and he went the wrong side, and he went aground. Now, he had what was he was wrong, fine, but it was a perfectly decent explanation. That's error of navigation. So yes, he had a bad day at the office, it went aground, but he had a decent explanation. By comparison, another example, I interviewed the master and the second officer of the RENA, the container ship that went aground in New Zealand 12 years ago. And when we went through the navigation, you remember they made the last alteration of course to port, and 17 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, doing 17 knots, hit a rock. Straight up, it cost the insurance industry $500 million in total. And we went through that, and we were trying to, what had happened was that they were being set ever so slightly to port, and that in that last 20 minutes, neither the second mate or the captain actually established where they were in relation to their intended track, and they went on the rocks. And they simply couldn't explain that. We knew that was the only conclusion that you could draw, but they weren't able to offer any other explanation as to how they had managed to go on the rock. when we were interviewing them in that process, when you approach the port of Tauranga, there's a huge light. It's about 100 meters tall. And I said to him, look, when you were approaching the port, which side of the bow did you see the light? Obviously, he needed to keep that light on his port bow. As long as that light was on his port bow, he was going to be safe. And it was clearly on the other side.
So thank you very
again,
much.
No explanation to that,
Mr. Thier.
So
our panel is very tight, and thank you for the question. Thank you to Mr. Thier. So our next panelist is Captain Mario Grimaldi, Atlantic Container Line, ISM Marine Superintendent, Deputy Company Security Officer, and Crew Manager. Please welcome.
So, first of all, thank you for the invitation. We are very pleased to be here. My name is Luciano Crapanzano. I am the DPA and the Technical Director in charge for Atlantic Container Line, which is a part of Grimaldi Group. Today, I am here with our HR Corporate Director, our COO, our crew manager, and two of our best captains in our fleet, which are Captain Dimitro and Captain Toter. I really appreciate the port side control presentation we had before. Our company paid a lot of attention on the port side control result. And of course, from our side, we stress a lot of our crew on board. Currently, of course, the results in our fleet are quite good. Our port side control performance is below average, which only 10% of the world fleet can reach this result. Plus, our vessels are qualified by US Coast Guard Call Ship 2021. And this is mainly to our crew, all of our crew members. Please consider that in our fleet, the top 5 we have are Bulgarian. So when we say the top 5, we are talking about captain, chief engineer, chief officer, second engineer, and ETO are Bulgarian. And we are proud, very proud about all of them. Of course, and this is important for our fleet. Of course, we are trying to take care about our crew. We arrange a training course for them in order to keep them updated with all the new technology. And I believe this is the way forward to get a good result. In this regard, our crew manager, Captain Grammatica, prepared a presentation about our crew, how our company is working, and of course, our good cooperation with our crew member, which is for us is really important. So, Mario, this is you.
Thank you, Engineer Cavanzano. My name is Mario Grammatica, and I'm the captain and crew manager actually on ACL. It's first of all, I want to thank you, all of you. I assist to all this presentation. I was very, very happy to hear very good things. And I want to start my presentation regarding the sustainable, the role of the education and crewing in the maritime industry. So distinguished guests, industry leaders, and esteemed colleagues, it is an honor to address you today on a topic of critical importance to our industry and our planet, the intersection of sustainable education and crewing in the maritime sectors. As we stand at the crossroad of evolving industry, our commitment to sustainability must reflect in every aspect of our operation, and from the classroom to the ICs. We know the importance of a sustainability in maritime industry, the global impact, the sustainable goals, the need of a green practice across all the sector. In the maritime industry, sustainable education is not just a trend, it's a necessity. As the global focus sharpens on the environmental impact, our educational framework must adapt to prepare the future maritime professionals for the challenging and opportunities that lie ahead. We must integrate sustainability into maritime education programs, ensuring the future officers, engineers, deck officers, and seafarers understand the environmental regulation landscape. These include knowledge of emission control, energy efficiency technologies, and maritime conservation principles. Practical experience is the key. Simulation, onboard training, and real-world projects can provide invaluable learning opportunities. By incorporating hands-on experience with the sustainable technologies and practice, we bridge the gap between theory and practice. Of course, the role of the crew member in sustainability is really important. Crew responsibilities, implementing energy-saving practice on board, proper waste management and pollution prevention, encouraging the crew members to be advocate of sustainability. The maritime industries operate on a global scale, and we know. And our educational programs should reflect this. By teaching students about international regulation, global environmental standards, and cross-border cooperation, we will prepare them for a truly interconnected world. In the maritime operation, the effective of crewing is vital to implement and upholding sustainable practices. Our crew are not just operational teams, and this one is reflected in daily basis operation with our masters, our engineers that are working in harmony on our ship. They are not, as I said, just operational teams, but they are the frontline ambassador of sustainability goals, of our sustainability goals. Crew must be equipped with a specialized training in sustainability and maritime practice. These include everything from management everything related to management of the ballast water to the advanced propulsion system and complying with the new environmental regulations. Sustainable maritime operation requires strong leadership as well. And this one is very important, to create a culture of responsibility. Crew should be encouraged to lead by example, promoting best practice and fostering a mindset that prioritizes environmental stewardship. The maritime industry is a state of flux, with new technologies and regulation constantly emerging. Crew need to be adaptable, continually updating their skill, their knowledge, to keep pace with these changes and to ensure the compliance with the latest sustainable standards. The synergy between education and crewing is where the true progresses in maritime sustainability can be achieved. By aligning education outcomes with the practical needs of the industry, we can create a workforce that is not only skilled, but also deeply committed to sustainability. Partnership between educational institution and maritime organization can lead more targeted training programs and research initiatives that are addressing specific industry needs. Ongoing professional development and lifelong learning should be embedded in our industry culture. As a sustainability standard evolve, so we have to approach the educational training, and the educational training should evolve with it. Encouraging innovation through the research and development in sustainability maritime technologies is crucial for us. education institution and industry players must work together to push the boundaries on what is possible. I want to close this part talking about, in closing, that our path for sustainable maritime future is clear. It requires commitment, effort to integrate sustainability into our educational system and crewing practices. By investing in this area, investing in sustainability, investing on the crew, we are not only enhance the efficiency and the environmental performance of the industry, but also set a powerful example that can lead some other industry. So we can be leader in this case for other industries in the maritime sector, and not only. Together, let us chart the course towards the future, where sustainability is the cornerstone of the maritime operation, guided by knowledge, professionals, and dedicated crew who are ready to meet the challenges and tomorrow with expertise and enthusiasm. I want to thank you and conclude this speech because I really believe that our crew is really committed to the environmental challenges. And I'm very happy and proud to say that working for ACL makes me really, really proud to be more efficient, more happy because we have a Bulgarian crew, Bulgarian officers that are working in harmony and that are working for a very sustainable future. Thank you.
So is any question? Thank you very much for your lecture. Is any questions, please? So no questions. So we continue with our next lecturer, Professor Bogovest Belev, Nikola Vaptsarov, Naval Academy, and owner of Belto Marine. Please welcome. Much more lecture.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation and giving me the opportunity to present my presentation regarding maritime education in our Naval Academy, which is under discussion of the department, colleagues of mine, management of the Academy. Because of the trend which we follow since COVID time, 2020, 2019, 2020, bothering us, and is the reason for many analyses, discussions, what we have to improve, what we have to change, in order to face the government requirements, maritime administration requirements, and of course, young people requirements, young people expectations. First of all, in the spirit of this forum, I would like to expose my acceptance that education is part of business. I think all of you are agree with me. Today, if we are agree that healthcare is business, why maritime education is different? Maritime education is kind of business. Of course, we have some regulations, and look at UNCTAD acceptances regarding maritime business. UNCTAD divided, this is part of United Nations Assembly, and UNCTAD divided maritime business in two main parts: wet side of the business and dry side of maritime business. Education is positioned in wet side of the industry, with skills and trained engineers, captains, electrical officers, and crew at all. Does the maritime educational business? Yes, definitely yes. Definitely yes, because we earn money. And here I would like to say thank you to Bulgarian Maritime Administration, which control us in healthy manner in order to keep vector of education, not to go more to business vector. Why we ring alarm regarding Bulgarian maritime education? We ring alarm because we saw the trend last 4 or 5 years, which is going down. Just one simple example. 5 years ago, students admitted Bulgarian Naval Academy was 150. I mean, students bachelor degree, permanent, not part-time. Part-time students are excluded. But last 5 years is going down, and to this year, for this studying year, we have less than 100 students. This is alarm for us. What is the present situation, I can say? The trend is going down, of course, and another reality that we faced, a small number of students are coming from so-called elite high schools. I mean, high schools which are mainly studying foreign languages. You know that in VARNA, in our city, and biggest Bulgarian cities, those schools are highly prioritized. Small number of candidates choose academy because family reasons, because they have brothers, they have fathers, they have grandfathers who served as seafarers. Part of candidates follow their parents' insistence and try to make happy their parents only. And one part of the students have never heard about sea. They don't know anything about sea life. Reality as reality of the life at sea. As I said in my introduction, our education is highly regulated, and regulation is coming from two sides according to Bulgarian legislation. From one side, Ministry of Education established state requirements for minimum studying hours. It means that we cannot deliver our education less than 2,200 studying hours. We have to adjust our syllabus in this limit. On the other hand, states control also apply maritime administration as a part of Ministry of Transportation. This control, I can say, is almost permanent. Moreover, we have very close cooperation with Maritime Administration, and all new requirements we discuss together and try to apply in our education. But it's very well visible that maritime education in Bulgaria is highly regulated. Once we want to make something new, we have to follow first these regulations. We have to consult our efforts with Maritime Administration, and after that we can do something new. we deliver also qualification courses, postgraduate courses to students, ex-students, now present captains, junior officers, engineers, and so. And we try to take their opportunity, their mind regarding present education, regarding our efforts, what they need more from our side, and what we have to improve. I think about a couple of months ago, we completed quiz to ex-students in the academy, about 300, something like this. And what is their opinion about present situation in maritime business, in shipping business, and what is their mind regarding decreasing the attraction of the profession. They say that young officers want to know their way of development in the company from the very beginning. I think this is important for all young people. So remember your time when you graduated any kind of university. You want to know at least 10 years forward what will happen with your position in the company. Also, young officers want to know their wage and potential development, of course. Everybody works for money. Young officers want to serve on board of modern vessels. It can happen not everywhere at every time, but anyway, they try to do. They try to go to modern vessels. Young officers want to have more fun on board and in professional tools. Of course, you know how many time young people spend for social media, in internet, and so on. They would like to implement their shore life in on board. Our efforts in the way of improving attraction of the education are focused on establishing new plans. What we have done up to now, modification of studying plan in respect of increasing the practice. That's what we did for next year, following the limit that I already discussed. Adoption of good European practice. I have impression from my last 6 years traveling in Croatia, in Slovenia, in United Kingdom, and everywhere I faced and I discussed with colleagues about their plans. Everywhere the plans are structured in this way: 3 years academic education and 1 year practice at sea. So there are evidence that this practice is optimal practice for today. Also, what we would like to improve: simulation training since first studying year. This direction, these steps are directly related to permanent demonstration what the profession is. Some of the students, after their practice, completing third year, they understand that sea life is not life at sea. Sorry, life at sea is not good for them, is not acceptable for them, and they want to go to another way. So 3 years in the academy are long time, and we would like to provide some alternatives to this kind of students. Also, our efforts are in this way: changing the education in the manner that I already presented to you has some strengths, some weakness, some opportunities and threats. So we did SWOT analysis saying that strength part of changes that we would like to implement in our educations are practical orientated education. That's what the industry wants. Short-term academic attendance, time for practice and earning money at education time. That's what the students want. And alternative practice for non-ship orientated students. Weaknesses that we expect. Less attractiveness for high educated students looking for scientific career. So some of the students are not happy that for example, mathematics is on very low level. They would like to have knowledges in this respect. And for them, practical orientated education is something that they are not allowed to graduate. Also, necessary for refreshing courses before graduation. But this is a tendency in many companies, shipping companies, which provide training and education permanently to their officers and engineers. What are the opportunities? Good for the shipping business to have well-educated cadets. When we deliver education 3 years before going to sea practice, our students generally complete their education. They have knowledges and skills, how to use aids to navigation, how to use the information, and they are well trained for navigational watch, navigational engineering watch. Also, opportunity for students to make informated choice of profession, which is very important for everyone. And threats. Opportunity for students to drop out of schools due to fear of not being able to cope with the task. I already mentioned this. And lowering the level of education also. Final words of my presentation. We rely to maritime business to support our vision. Because of this, we are in very close cooperation with business, not only as a business, but as tutors for us, as assessors for us. Maritime administration, we rely to maritime administration, of course, to be constructive partner, not restrictive one. And government, to promote Bulgaria's maritime country. Only in this way, we will be accepted in international companies. Finally, I would like to highlight that the main goal of bachelor degree education is for deck officers. We have to produce, sorry for this word, but it's a reality, officers of the watch. And we have to give knowledges and skills related to officers of the watch position, and also engineer officers of the watch. It means that knowledges and skills for bachelor degree are up to this level, not higher. Higher degree is master degree, and this is another IMO model course. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm ready to answer to your questions.
So thank you, Kapitan Belev, Professor Belev. Is any questions, please?
Sorry,
One question.
I say to my students, if you don't have question, it means that I was very clear. if you don't have question, it means that nothing is clear. So one of these options. But you have question, probably something is not so good.
I can give you back the microphone. At the beginning, you said that people which are coming don't have knowledge about the life at sea. So I believe you have, before you admitted them, you present them now academy. So maybe you can use some captains, for example, Grimaldi come with their best of their captains. Maybe you can use them to give knowledge for the students, which is the life at sea. And yeah, just very beginning not to lose them after 3 years. And also there are much more opportunities for the people completing now academy. Maybe 80% of us, something like this, are at sea. Other are with the job ashore. Some of us never sailed, so there is a lot of opportunities. Maybe if to make something like networking of the former students, because actually just the people, for me, just the people I knew from the school, and there is no networking. Maybe have to start something with the Naval Academy just to show to the incomers that there is a lot of opportunities at sea and also ashore. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Of course, we present as we can life at sea, but when the students attend their vessel for practice, they faced, most of them faced something unexpected. They have to follow instructions, they have to obey with masters, with elders on board, and this is, I can say, aggressive environment for them. I would like to have the business and a representative of the business as our partners permanently, not in particular forums only. Permanently, because in our daily life as lecturer, professors, sometimes we lose connection with students. Sometimes we lose connection, relation with the business. And because of this, forums like this, or any other forums, to invite people from practice, even in exams, carrying out the exams, we will have your support, we will have your mind in this respect, and of course, new ideas, what to do. Thank you.
So one more question. Welcome.
Hi, Professor. I'm Ron Crean from Winwood. I went to the same university as Ian in the UK, in Plymouth, and there's a strong alumni association from that called PINDA, Plymouth Nautical Degree Association. And it strikes me that Bulgaria must be, I was speaking to one of the guys earlier who was telling me about, 3,000 people across multiple years from the Naval Academy. So you must have an amazing alumni group to tap on, who obviously must be in the global maritime industry already. Is that something that's very strong in terms of, tapping into that group?
I can say partly yes. Partly yes, because, you're right. Those people are coming in the academy, but not as assessors, not as inspectors. They are coming as our customers, most of them. They are coming as our customers, and we try to make them happy. Discussion sometimes raise flashes, sometimes raise kicks, and that's what we need. okay, not permanently, but from time to time. Of course, we don't miss the opportunity to ask our clients, our ex-students, which attend the Academy for qualification courses. We promote them some quiz, how to do our job, what they face reality on board, and some questions that we that are under research in the department, and only these things we have time for only these things, not so much. But anyway, I would like to invite the business to be more active and to share their impression more often to us, because only this is the fruitful control. As I said, our business is earning money and quality of the production. Okay, we earn money from the government anyway, but control of the quality is coming from the business. That's what we want to hear.
Thank you.
So thank you. Other questions, please? So one more question.
Hello, everyone. I have a question related to established standards of profession of maritime professionals. We know that in almost every country, they have their self-governed association, for example, professional engineers, another organization for architects, for doctors, lawyers, and so on. And I think that I don't know how in Bulgaria this kind of established standards is developed. Part of this depends on the education, like bachelor's and academy. However, to become a member, for example, professional organization, that means that for everyone, let's say in Europe, when we say like professional maritime person, they should accept this, like established meet standards for every country, at least basic standards for loyalty, for professional ethics, for professional education and skills. And I just wanted to ask if there is a plan or is already established in Bulgaria. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, we follow standards in maritime education. Briefly, how the standards are prepared. When IMO requires some education, Maritime Academy, Maritime Administration, Bulgarian Maritime Administration, developed great standard based first on IMO model course. Also, some specific requirements coming from their side. And always, Maritime Authority ask educational institutions for their mind. So finally, standard is coming to us as executors of this standard. And Maritime Administration want to know our opinion in this respect. This period of time is depending of how complicated is education, but sometime 1 month discussion, and always when Maritime Administration approved some standard, just before approval, the standard is published for everybody who has interest. Is published on the Maritime Administration website, and everybody can sent his claims or whatever. So this is shortly the procedure. After accepting some standard, we as a maritime educational institution prepare our syllabus. And that's it.
So please, next question after the discussion. So thank you, Professor Belev.
Thank you very much.
So our next panelist will be Professor Christos Molenov, PhD, Nikola Vaptsarov Naval Academy, Honorary Professor, University Lecturer, Member of the Board, and Founder of the Black Sea Research Fund. Please welcome, Professor.
Co-founder. The founder here, my good old friend with whom we have participated in a number of maritime expeditions. Kostustev, please rise. My friend, thanks to him, we are now entering a second stage of development of our expeditional activities. We're planning the so-called Dur-Anki expedition. Dur-Anki in Sumerian means horizon. Dur, the place of meeting, An, heaven, Ki, earth. The meeting place between heaven and earth, that is the horizon. And now, there is a big archaeological site, Durankulak, which bears the same name, and we're lucky to say that archaeological achievements in Bulgaria, starting with VARNA culture. Please show VARNA, yes, show some, good. Here it is, showing sensational artifacts from Varna necropolis. It is the place where the oldest gold hoard on earth has been unearthed. The oldest, meaning 6,500 years at least before the present moment, dating back to 4,600 BC. It is such a sensation that the leading European and world archaeologists like Sir Colin Renfrew from Great Britain, Prince Mikasa from Japan, the brother of the then Emperor of Japan, a number of others have stated that Varna culture is actually the first European civilization and maybe the first civilization in the world. Moreover, it has material evidence of knowledge, systematic knowledge encoded in artifacts made of gold, copper, stone, ceramic artifacts like this fantastic bowl, which has as kind of decoration the peaks of 4 ships. Mind these figurines, and now please compare them to this cave drawing from the Caspian southwest coast, now in Azerbaijan, dated between 7,500 and 8,000 years ago. How come the structure of ships is so similar that in the Caspian and in the Black Sea, around the same years, which point to Neolithic and even Mesolithic ages, are the same? How come maritime expeditions have been carried out both in the Black Sea and in the Caspian? By the way, along the lines of the Manich River, there was a sea link between the Black Sea and the Caspian. And our good old friend with whom we participated in the academic expedition on board the academic ship, Professor Bill Ryan, has pointed out, he's the greatest living maritime geologist, marine geologist. He pointed out that there were at least 2 waves of flood in the Black Sea. The first came right after the end of the last ice age. And thanks to it, 250 million cubic meters of fresh water rushed into the aquatoria of the Black Sea. It earlier used to be the greatest freshwater lake on Earth, plus 250 million cubic meters of fresh water coming from the melting glaciers by the end of the last ice age, converted it into a phenomenon of aquatorial endeavors. And now the very simple argument, why? God, why on earth was it possible for people to take long-distance maritime expeditions, to travel beyond the horizon, again the horizon as Duranki, to travel beyond the horizon, having solved the most important issue for a seafarer, the drinking water problem? Since it was the greatest freshwater lake, water could be derived directly overboard, and you could travel beyond the horizon without having the problem of, shall I have to drink salt water and go mad and then go crazy and die? Or shall I use the soft, fresh water from this largest freshwater basin on Earth, having guaranteed my drinking problems? Food is something else, but you can starve for 40, 50 days on end without going crazy and dying. So this exceptional linkage between the Caspian Mesolithic rock drawings and the reality of the Varna culture, Varna superculture, if I may put it so, and you can all go to the archaeological museum and see for yourselves these fantastic gold, copper, stone, and ceramic artifacts. Mind that there were also symbolic graves among the 300 graves of Varna necropolis. Symbolic, I mean, where no human remains were found, only artifacts. The most important of these is symbolic grave number 4. Go to the Varna Museum, see for yourselves. It contains a fantastic collection of artifacts. The big bowl, which is gold decorated. This is not just yellow paint. This is real gold ornament on the structure, on the concave inner side of the bowl. And do you know what the most important thing about this bowl is? Its diameter equals exactly 1 royal cubit, the sacred measure of pyramids. But this bowl was delivered to the earth 2,000 years before the construction of the Great Pyramid was even started. 2,000 years earlier than the Giza project with the 3 pyramids and the Sphinx. This not only existed, but gave the sacred standard of the whole Varna necropolis treasure. Sacred standard based on the royal cubit measure and its parts, proportional parts. Royal cubit of ancient Egypt, which here in the Varna culture predates by 2 millennia the construction of the Great Pyramid. This is a sensation. And now I'm going to show you our work, Mr. Sterbs and I, our work under the auspices of the Noble Naval Academy of VARNA. I have the honor of being its honorary professor, but I have to say thanks to all those who supported the activity of this unique maritime university, which twice in its history was second in place among all maritime universities in the world. I have to say, first of all, thanks to the president, who had a very wise solution of how the activity of this Naval Academy will continue. Thank you. Thank him. And it is an honor for us to be under the auspices, under the honorary patronage of the president. But I can also say that all those who work in this academy deserve this honor of being selected for such a patronage. I have to say thanks to the previous president and commander of the Naval Academy, Professor Boyan Bednikarov. Thank you, Professor. He's not here. They have a problem. They have a kind of routine exercise thing. I have to say thanks to the presently elected Fleet Admiral who is in charge of the Naval Academy. And I have to say thanks to all those who work here, including this fine lady who is in charge of this planetarium. Thank you. But now I have to say something more. There is a close relationship between the idea, the hypothesis that the first maritime movement, the first maritime expeditions, the first navigation in the history of mankind took place here, and the construction of those artifacts, and the fact that the royal cubit as a super measure, as a sacred measure of the Egyptian pyramids was born here. There is a close relationship between the maritime practice of humanity and the construction of the Great Pyramid, the construction of all these pyramids. And I'm going to show you now how, and then I will ask you to shortly pass this film, after which I'm going to show the practical solution of why exactly the royal cubit was founded here, was set up here as a whole system of introducing standards and then applied to the construction of those great wonders of humanity. Please. Now, again, the DNA of space-time, space-time being as objective as matter, energy, but impossible to touch, rather capable of self-organization thanks to fundamental mathematical constants, pi, the golden ratio, and number. Now, the most important thing is how come we find the sacred standard of pyramids encoded, for instance, in this fantastic, very beautiful, but seemingly out of place product of modern art. How come the gold plate that I've shown to you bears the same proportions that take us from the Great Pyramid directly to the size of the sun, such as it is measured by contemporary astronomy and astrophysics? And is it possible that a simple yet very emotionally and rationally supported practice of human beings could lead to such phenomenal results? And now I'm taking you to this very plate, which has 10 holes drilled in its surface. It is massive gold. 10 holes drilled in its surface with pure geometrical precision, so precise that you can model here on this plate by way of linking those holes, making perpendiculars vertically and horizontally. You can model exactly the characteristic formula of the second pyramid, Khafre's pyramid, and I've made it also for the first pyramid, the Great Pyramid. You can see so simply, 4,000 years before Pythagoras was even born, you can model here two Pythagorean triangles, all these measured with electronic calipers, and thanks to Costa, in future, with 3D scanners. The angles here are 53 degrees, 1600 parts of the degree, exactly what characterizes the Pythagorean triangle. But this is a matter of fact 4,000 years before Pythagoras was even born. And this vertical cross-section of the second pyramid and the cross-section of the first pyramid predate the very stone realization of the pyramids by 2 millennia. How come? Well, very simply, I have been perplexed to see how all these artifacts that you saw in grave number 4 are linked together to yield a simple procedure of orientation at sea. When you travel beyond the horizon, you find yourself surrounded by only sea and no orienting points but the sunrise and sun going down, which give you the horizontal line of orientation. Yes, you have this. You have something that gives you, if I may put it so, the latitude, the longitude. But you have to solve the problem of how you move along the vertical line of orientation, which is responsible for the latitude. You have to find something in this vast desert of sea around yourself to rely on. It is only the stars up. Now you have something to rely on which you have made out of bone. Such idols, called bone idols, are to be seen in the Varna gold, Varna necropolis gold, by dozens, not one, not two, dozens of them. But the most important thing, this bone idol lies right by the gold plate in the famous symbolic grave number 4. And this bowl is there too. There is a fantastic biconic, please show it, biconic bracelet, which was molded with no additional effort, just made out of gold. This proportional to the gold plate. All these artifacts that are so different in form are united by a same standard of length. And now, please have a look. The possibility to use this bone idol for the sake of navigating, for the sake of, let me joke, a kind of paleo GPS, which can give you the possibility to return right where you started your having this line of orientation, east, west, sunrise and sundown. You have now to decide how to travel perpendicularly to this line, from north to west, to south. You have to have a standard, and you can get it from the level of rising of a certain star, say now the polar star, but then 5,000 years ago, those were stars from the dragon constellations, Tuban, and before it. You can have a standard procedure of measuring the height of a certain fixed star on the horizon, above the horizon, with a fixed instrument. When the star is here, having a standard length of this bone idol. When the star appears here in the circle, you are now sure that you're already on the horizontal dimension of your road back to home. So simple. I have made a bigger copy of this bone idol for you to see, and I will leave it here for you to have a look at it. It is very easy to fix this on the horizon, and when the given star is now in the hole above, you are now sure that you can turn already perpendicularly to the line north-south. You can follow already the line from east to west and go directly where you started your journey. This is a kind of a roadmap. This is a kind of a, moreover, paleo GPS instrument. And this is not simply an instrument. This is an explanation, because the distance that you have to keep, the distance that you have to keep in front, so that you mark this star peeping in the is exactly 1 royal cubit. This position of the of your arms fixed in this line of sight. This position answers directly to the length of 1 royal cubit. That's why this bowl here has the diameter of 1 royal cubit. And moreover, being filled with water, it gives you the level, this horizontal level that you have to keep to ground this simple, very simple instrument. Therefore, having this bowl in your hands with a distance of 1 royal cubit between your body, your line of vision, and the line of ascending this or descending this answers to the very important question: how paleonavigation was made possible and why it became so important for the ancient people to make this distance of 52.3 or 0.5 centimeters so important that it became sacred to the ancient Egyptians and also to the Sumerians, the Sumerian cubit being some very tiny portion shorter than the royal cubit of ancient Egypt. So I maintain that the origin of the sacred measure is closely related to the maritime practices of the ancient people, to the first paleonavigation, which was efficient enough to get you back from where you started after being among the raging sea with no things to get oriented. Very simple things may lead to great constructions, to great discoveries, to great advancements of human civilization. It all starts with a simple desire to travel far away and come back to your home safely. This is what the ancient masters that made this fantastic oldest gold in the world, this fantastic oldest system of knowledge in the world. Actually, they gave the world also a sacred measure. And strangely, it fits not only the maritime practice, but also the architectural practice of the ancient world and of our world as a kind of successor. Thank you for this great patience of yours. Thank you. And bear in mind that this is just an attempt to visualize these geometrical arguments. But then, by way of the expedition that I already announced, this Duranki expedition, we're going to travel there and return back with no instruments but these simple things, and I'm sure it would be a success. Thank you very much indeed.
So thank you very much, Professor Smolenov. So let's the question be after the discussion, and I'm sure it's more than one question disappear. So thank you very much. And our next presenter and speaker will be Kapitan Adrian Evtimov from Stargate Maritime, Managing Director. He will speak on the topic for crewing and training in the era of transformation. Please welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Now I'm trying to back to the more close to the panelist topic about the crewing. First, some words about me. I graduated this academy in 1986. After that, 13 years sea service, including master and command, and more than 25 years in the ship management business. Now I'm managing director of the two companies, Stargate Maritime and Stargate Bulgaria. They both are in the ship management. We are managed on the technical point of view 10 ships, pure car carriers, and from the crew management side, we are managing 35 ships with more than 400 officers. In my presentation, I will not give so many data like figures about the number of the seafarers in the industry, what are requirements of the different conventions and documents, as this should be very well known for everyone which is involved in this business. This panel is for the training and crewing, and I will try to share with you my view, what we have at the moment and what we have to do in this field. When I'm saying we, I mean all stakeholders, education institutions, training institutions, ship owners, ship managers. And I'm not talking about the authorities because they have own life behind their power. So now we are in the so-called post-pandemic time. We passed in our generation the maybe more serious situation during the COVID time. And this pandemic showed us how much the crewing and the seafarers are vulnerable. Everyone in this call remember that time. And maybe not so many people knows that during the pandemic time and shortly after that, how many seafarers left the profession, and this is forever. No any public information about that, but it is visible because the shortage of supply of the officers is increasing. International Chamber of Shipping in the reports, they showed that by 2025, the shortage of the ship officer will be more than 25,000. But it is not taking into account the people who left the profession during the pandemic and after that. Somebody can say, well, you are talking about the shortage of seafarers, but there are no ships which are staying idle, waiting for the crew. Maybe it's a fact, but we are not including this about the quality of the seafarers, quality of the officers especially. And one more thing, there is no information how many ships at this moment they are in operation with the dispensation letter for a shortage of some officer. On world ocean, there are 70,000 ships which are at the moment, and we have no such information. But it's a fact. Shortage of officer is visible very, very well. Already touched the question about the quality. What's mean the quality seafarer? If I will try every one of this whole to give a definition about the quality seafarer, maybe every one of us have some idea about the quality of the seafarer. So there is no any simple definition and unique definition. But very often we are considering that if the seafarer it is fully certified as per STCW, it is good enough. But STCW is giving absolutely minimum about the standards. And sorry to say, but STCW is not working and not any more effective. But having in mind that any changes in such a document is taking sometimes in 10 years, we have what we have. And the other way, it is to make other efforts to increasing the quality of the seafarers in our profession. Even in the so well-known MLC convention, there is a requirement for recruitment and places services to check documents as per the STCW, and no any mention about the standards and quality of the seafarers. In the national standards, today there was a presentation also. The national standards are follow the STCW standards, which mean minimum. As far as I know and my knowledge, only few administrations implement more strict and more higher standards for the day seafarers. But just few flags about that. Talking about the STCW, first version of the convention is 1978. And the idea of this convention was to establish the global standard, having in mind that different countries have the different standards, and especially the big labor supplying country, which is the low standards in life, they have the low standards in the education and training. And STCW put these standards. But what was the result? Okay, we a little bit high up the standards for these countries, but at the same time, the other countries, in this case also Bulgarian, we dropped down the level. And now everybody is focused on the STCW. As I told before, STCW is not anymore effective to obtain and to have the good quality seafarers. How the shipping companies evaluate the seafarers and decided which seafarer it is, especially the officers, it is suitable for the company. Definitely, as per the safety management system of each company, they have a procedure for evaluation of the seafarers. But based on this evaluation, very rare it is established the more deeply training program. Why? Because it is additional costs. And Mostly of these evaluation procedures are only subject of the audited by the classification societies when they are checking the document of compliance. What we can do for improvement of the quality of the seafarers? Starting from the educational approach. Today also there were some presentations about the education, and me as a representative of the business, it's good to hear that education, there is a plan education to be more close to the business and with the cooperation with the business. The business to give more ideas, because in the business is more dynamic situation compared with the education. So we are ready to do, we are ready to support, and we are ready to give any information and methodology in our hands to the educational and training institutions. When we have good education, it's easy to have after that postgraduate training. Many of the training courses also are put in the STCW, and they are on the established program, and it is going under default. Same program, same course, and very often these courses are not giving the added value to the seafarers. Because as I told you, the shipping business is dynamic, and this should be reflected in the postgraduate training as well. And recently, in the many companies, including in our company, we established the system of the on-job training. We consider that on-job training, it is the most efficient way to train their own officers for their own procedures, for their own company standards and value. This slide, I name it back to basic. I don't mean back to basic of the stone era or the ships which are in the 50 years ago, but we have to stop for a while and to see where we are and what we have to do in future. What's happened after establishing the ISM code in 1995, starting to implementation 1998 and finishing 2002? Step by step, we took all responsibilities of the masters and chief engineers from the board, from the ships, and put in the office. And what was the result? Less motivation for self-development, because in case of something, the master, chief engineer will call the office. And for the office side, in implementation of the new technology, communication, it's become very easy to require from the master and chief engineer daily report, photos, this report, that report, and the work on board the ships become more administrative compared with the taking safety of the vessel. 15 years ago, in one conference, one colleague, very well experienced ship managers, at that time he was nearly age of 70. He taught something which I maybe remember for a long time. He taught that I like this profession, I like this business, but I cannot accept that we transfer the master like a driver and the chief engineer like a chief fitter. So that's why we have to make some efforts to back to basic, to transfer again some of the responsibility of the masters and chief engineer again on board. Only this way they have the more motivation to train their crew. Otherwise, they have no motivation for that. In case something happened, I'll call the office. What about the companies? Safety management system and motivation. Today it was some pointing about the master's guilty, which is not exactly, because master have the overriding authorities, and master in any case can take a decision not follow the company instructions because he is on board. And one of masters of member of the Nautical Institute give that I like to be master because while I am master, nobody can tell me what to do. If I decide to do this way, I take responsibility for that. In the many companies, now it is implemented so-called no-blame culture. What means no-blame culture? No-blame culture, it is very good approach to the top management on board and to search what is the chain of the errors and events, but not to approach on the blame on board the vessel. But in order to implement good approach for the no-blame culture, that means that everybody must be very well familiar with the responsibility and communication on board the ships and in the office, because also here the lawyer said some mistakes, errors, etc. I have my opinion that very often we are hearing after the incidents human error. Is there human error actually? What's mean human error? If somebody follow the written and approved procedure and something happened, it means that the procedure is not correct. But if the procedure is correct and something happened, and somebody is not follow this procedure, this is not a human error, this is negligence. So this we should have this distinguishing. So today we are talking many times about the transformations, digital transformation, AI transformation, environmental zero emissions, new technology, communications, dual fuel, etc., etc., etc. But how many of the stakeholders are aware and understand that all these things which are now is happened on board the ships and industry, main burden is falling on the crew. The crew will be frontline for everything. The crew will perform all the standards which is established somewhere in the administrations or in the international organization. This is the crew. They are on the front line. About the artificial intelligence. Shipping is a very well-regulated business. And I don't believe that very soon we will have the AI on board the ships. But if we decided what approach we have to AI, because now globally there are two approaches. One, it is open approach, which means more data, which is being developed. The other approach is AI to be regulated, to have some standards. First approach, it's dangerous. It means that you can do something, but we don't know how it's working. How exactly it's working. The other way, it is good for us when there is some regulations. And within these regulations, we to use the AI on board the ships or communication. Some companies now already establish so-called twin ship. Twin ship, it means everything, every system which is on board, it is digitally transferred in the office. So somebody in the office controlling, checking, and follow everything which is on board. What is this? It is control of the crew on board. It is we are not trust to them, or just we show to the shipping that we have good enough financial support and we can do this. But many companies already make advertising that we have the twin ships in our offices, especially on the passenger vessels. So talking about that main burden will be for the crew. We have to take care about the crew. How? Welfare, well-being, good wages. And when we start to talk about the wages, it is the big disaster for everybody. But good ship managers, they understand that after the costs for the fuels, second place is the cost for the crewing. And good managers, they are taking care about the crew. Because if it's not this third officer, will be next third officer, it is increasing the risk. But if the ship owner, ship manager invest of training their own officers, it is low risk, and this is the more profitable for the business. Already I told you that we are in the very sensitive time for the global crewing now. And this sensitive time, it is moment to recall 80s of the last century. What's happened in 80s is the time when there was also good enough crisis and dark times in the shipping. And that time, West European countries start to lose seafarers. Same was happened in Japan. And for a couple of years, the wages for the seafarers, especially for the officers, increasing 2.5 times. Now we are approaching the same way. If we want to succeed to have good enough number of seafarers, good enough number of seafarers with the knowledge, expertise, and quality. Recently, some institutions make researches about the Seafarers Happiness Index. During the pandemic time, this index fall down, and it is understandable why. About the restrictions, everything. But after pandemic time, this happiness index is not increasing so much, which means that the people on board are not happy. And all stakeholders must understand why. How to improve the conditions to challenge the young generation to come to us. Second research, which is just published last week, about the salary benchmark. It is the huge efforts to collect the data about that, but personally, me, I think it's not so useful for taking any decisions or how to say next steps, because the number of the seafarers are restricted, which are performing this research. And as I told you before, all the burden of any transformation will come to the seafarers. So, what we can do? Communication, cooperation, and support between the shipping companies and maritime education and training institutions. Only in this way we can improve the status of the seafarers and to challenge new generation to come to us. One more time, I will share my opinion. STCW is not enough. STCW, it is just administrative way seafarers to have the documents, but it is not enough. More respect to the seafarers. Actually, 80%, 90% of the world trade is coming by the ships, etc. Every one of us knows such a data. But nobody is thinking, nobody is talking how our mobile phones, how the TV, how the coffee is coming to us. But once happen some accidents with ship, it's become big news for everybody. So we have to follow good way and to increase the good name of the seafarers. I put here one item about the Generation Z. Why? By the end of the 2025, 27% of the workforces all around the world will be Generation Z. What we know about the Generation Z, particularly in the shipping, and how we can challenge them to come to us. Do we know what the Generation Z is searching for? It is easy to blame them. They are lazy, they don't know what to do, etc., etc. But are we know how to approach to them? So I mentioned some of the features of this generation, which is important for the shipping. They want to be independent and flexible. They want to work what they want. They are not considering career so far, and they considering job which is not forever. They are children of the technology booming, and they cannot accept anything which have no communication with the internet. And now we have to search what is the feature of the new generation, Generation Z, and the value of the companies can match in order to use for the business. And the company of the future will be companies who are focused on the people. Focus on the people. And we, like a more older generation, must to change our approach to the young generation. They are more than we. And after this generation is coming Generation Alpha. And we have to understand what they want and to accept their values to the company. It's not too easy, and it will be not easy, but we can do. Because there is no profitable business if we are not thinking about the safety of the ships and safety of the shipping business in general. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Kapitan Eftimov. Is there any questions from the audience? So please, one question, Captain. One question.
Captain, hello. I have, actually, two questions. So first and foremost, you said in your presentation that you're trying to give, which is admirable, by the way, decision-making back to the masters and chief engineers on board on the vessels. I'm all for that, but I have a question in that regard. Why then implement the dual ship system? Because this, as part of the crew, means that you don't trust the crew and you have to monitor it all the time. So, in the sense, you're saying one thing as a company and doing the quite opposite. And the second, my second question is more of a suggestion, really. If a company is concerned about the seafarers' happiness index, by my observations on board, why is there no high-speed, unlimited internet on the vessels? Because I can promise you, for 95% of the crew, just give them unlimited fast internet, they will be happy. Thank you.
I'll start with the second question. I'm not sure that unlimited internet will give the happiness, because unlimited internet also provoke the other things, reducing the social life on board, because everybody is focused on the internet and no social life on board, no communication. After they finish the job, after the watch or the daily job, everybody is going in the cabin and start to using internet, start to communicate with the family, video calls, etc., etc., etc. So that it is no one way answer for that. Many companies are providing the internet good enough, like a speed and like a volume. And so far, no such a big complaint from the crew all around the world about this way. Yes, now on the boat carriers, in generally, having in mind that they're working on the more specific market, still not so strong implemented the internet for the crew. But now also some companies, I recently understand that they start to using the Starlink only for the crew, which is the price is going down, and they are separately from the business correspondence and business communication, they implement the Starlink for the crew. But as I told you, only this is it is not enough. Regarding the first question about the twin ships, yes, could be that somebody is not trust, but so far we have no situations, and there is no now the colleagues from the lawyers companies to ask in case of the incident of the ships which are with the twin communication and twin management, how they will consider it is the ship's fault, because ship's fault, error of navigation is covered by the insurance. But if it is the company fault, I mean decision by the twin ship which is in the office, how they will accept this one? Because in the twin ships, also some companies, they prepare the voyage plan. It just sent on board the ships to check. Who is taking responsibility for that? Now it is master. And talking about the training of the masters, we really have to focus on that. Masters to use more often overriding authorities. Overriding authorities is not to say to the crew, I am the master. Overriding authority to say to the office, listen, this order, it is against the safety of the vessel. Nobody can blame the master about that. Of course, it is not subject to the fear of the master to perform some order. He must to have grounds to reject, to follow some orders. I know many masters to do this in the last 20 years. They said, no, this is not safety. And this is from the management side, from the operational side, never mind, but there's no safety. But this could be done by the master with the good experience, good knowledge, and who is sure about what he do, and very well understand the documents which is regulated, the company SMS and the conventions.
So thank you. And one more question from here.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like just to comment something. All the changes, everybody mentions about the conventions, but the conventions set the minimum level. After that come the administrations or the national legislation. At the bottom are the companies which employ the seafarers. So actually the changes may take place, may start from the bottom to the top or from the top to the bottom. So regardless that in your example, STCW convention is not efficient, it's not sufficient, so it must be more complex. Actually, it's the companies which set the rules and which set the requirements for the seafarers which they employ. So what may be a good idea to be done is just for the companies to set high standards when employing the seafarers and just to upgrade the level of knowledge of the seafarers. And maybe in that direction, the company should work with the educational and training institutions. Thank you.
I'm fully agree with you. And even now, the companies, the good shipping companies, they have more higher standards than the SCW. Now it is more higher standards. Now there is, how to say, some kind of competition between the EU and the IMO. who will be quicker for the establishment of the some rules. It seems that EU is more quicker. So you start to establish some requirements, not only not for the seafarers, but the general requirements more quicker than the IMO. IMO, it is a very bureaucratic structure, and it is absolutely not helping for the seafarers, especially. So STCW, it is a convention where is no big interest in general. But in the other conventions, there is a big interest because these conventions created market for manufacturers of the different equipment. But in STCW, there is no such a big interest from the financial side, And IMO, how to say, okay, I will share the private and personal information. I was the IMO ambassador, and I give resignation in the pandemic time because all efforts to challenge the IMO to do something except papers that seafarers are key workers. Okay, IMO has the power to collect these nearly 200 member states and to say, listen, we have the trees for the global supply chain. And what was the ambassador doing? Just empty reports. I do this one. Nobody checking, and make like a, how to say, some paperwork and 1 or 2 meetings in the year. That's why I said it is absolutely twisted, the idea, because the idea which was established by the Koji Sekimotsu, one of the general secretary, after that it was twisted. So that's why IMO, we only expected the additional documents. One of the ex-general secretary of Timos Metropolis, he in the assembly said, gentlemen, let's stop produce new documents. We need to give time for the people to accept what we produce up to now. This is the long conversation. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Kapitan Eftimov. So it was the last participant on our panel. So the day is long and everybody can share knowledge and ideas and visions. So now I give the words to Kapitan Paskov. Kapitan Paskov, please, welcome.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, all participants, first of all, thanks for your generous extended attention, for which, once again, thanks to all participants, a little bit extended our program. But now is the time to finalize and to conclude all the ideas of this forum, which at the end will end with one final act in order to attract the attention to all agencies, to all authorities, and to all governmental agencies that at the end, never mind all expectation and future goals, post our final idea is to keep the well-being of the seafarers. I agree personally with what the final words of the Captain Adrian Eftimov stated. So the aim of this final act is to fix some important outcomes and ideas, and also to pose some ideas and to pose also some resolution at the end. Representatives from some of the leading shipping industry organizations participated in the forum, as did invited observers from international organizations and maritime companies from various countries. We, the organizers, participants, supporters, and stakeholders of the Global Compass International Maritime Forum, understanding the vital importance of all maritime professions, ranging from the daily laboring single seafarers to the leading industry organizations having a global impact on the business. Taking into account that approximately 2 million seafarers serve all merchant ships worldwide, bearing in mind that tens of thousands of seafarers spend their lives in the oceans far from their loved ones, and being cognizant of the vital role which all seafarers play in ensuring the sustainable transition to a zero-carbon shipping, raise our concern and declare our support for improving the conditions of all mariners in today's turbulent world of geopolitical challenges, natural disasters, and ever-growing crime acts. Supranational partnerships, solid stakeholders, cooperation, and organizational alliances are the forum's key objectives, which seek to ensure that seafarers' human rights are protected and that merchant and cruise shipping continues to evolve as a standardized, regulated, and safe profession. A major highlight of such intergovernmental cooperation is the classification of seafarers as essential workers as laid down in the EU Regulation 2024/1717 of the 13th of June 2024. This EU regulation ensures that seafarers are exempt from entry restrictions to the EU in the event of large-scale health emergencies. Another benchmark achievement is the Geneva Declaration on the Human Rights at Sea of 2022, which reaffirms the founding principle that human rights are universal. They apply at sea as they do on land. So, being inspired by such concerted major initiatives, we, the stakeholders on this forum, advocate robustly for seafarers to be granted internationally recognized privileges to move freely between their home and the ship, to be contracted on acceptable work terms, and be given access to proper assistance when required. Guided by the above, we hereby declare our absolute commitment to the coordinated action of the international maritime community to uphold the rights of the seafarers despite any extraordinary war, piracy, or ship seizure circumstances, to sail and maintain their working conditions, safety, and security to supportable levels. In conclusion, we put forward the following resolutions. First, in today's risky and worrying world, accelerated world dynamics and ecological catastrophes, all seafarers should seek and implement innovative processes to eradicate any and all remaining substandard shipping and improve seafarers' well-being and welfare. Second, in connection with the geopolitical changes which have a strong impact on the working conditions in the world's oceans, firm and innovative steps must be taken by the international maritime community towards the importance of the maritime education to shape a new and improved shipping reality. And third, we urge all industry stakeholders to take concerted and allied actions in preventing all threats posed onto seafarers passing warlike and high-risk areas. We are confident that all participants in this forum will contribute with their utmost efforts to the aforementioned cause, and thank to your consideration. Done at VARNA, this 20th of September 2024 in a single copy in the English language. Thanks for your attention.